Someone's mom gets a phone call. The caller says there's a problem with her bank account. He sounds professional, he knows her name, and tells her she has to act immediately. And a few hours later, she's out thousands of dollars. And her family asks, how could she possibly fall for that? Well, instead of being judgmental, maybe we should ask, what's changed in her life that made trusting somebody so dangerous? Welcome back to Clicking with Confidence, and I'm Rico, and I'm still the old guy in a chair. And today we're going to be asking a slightly dangerous question. Are people over 50 really naive? And believe me, I'm not throwing rocks from the youth section. Depending on where you draw the line, I'm either right in the middle of that group or close enough that I can use your restaurant discount card. Okay, this video is about understanding why people over 50 are cautious about some things and unusually trusting about others, and sometimes confused by a world that seems to change every 6 months. Now, boomers, seniors, and people over 50 are not necessarily naive. They were just prepared for a different world. They were given a roadmap, and then somebody moved all of the roads. Okay? In the world we grew up in, there was no internet, there was no social media, there was no AI. And we could believe most of what we saw and heard. Most of the information we got was through like newspapers and radios and just a few TV stations, not the hundreds that you have today. And that didn't mean everything was true. I mean, of course, people lied back then, but there were a lot more gatekeepers, people like editors and producers and heads of established organizations that usually stood behind the information before it reached a big wide audience. Now, X is considered a reliable source for news. It's not. Okay? I mean, we listen to teachers and doctors and most authority figures. Well, kind of. Anyway. And then our world changed dramatically. Many people over 50 entered this new digital world as adults. We'd already spent decades learning how communication, work, and society were supposed to operate. And then we had to learn email, smartphones, streaming, media, and now AI. And that makes us all something like immigrants in this digital world. Now, for sure, an immigrant can learn the language and become highly, highly capable. But some of the slang and warning signs may not ever feel completely natural. I mean, believe me, my parents were straight off the boat immigrants, and both were highly educated, and to their dying day, idioms and slang still escaped their understanding. If you want a funny story, ask me about being a maroon sometime. Anyway, those changes also affected the advice generations give to one another. I mean, people naturally trust the path that worked for them. An older person may see college as a safe path, and YouTube as a reckless means to an end. But that's only because one is familiar and the other is not. I mean, and to be fair, for every successful YouTube channel, there is at least a dozen, if not 100, that are only being watched by their creator and their cousin, right? Now, the older generation's advice did not suddenly become foolish. The world around it changed. Someone may refuse to enter a credit card number on a secure website of a familiar company, but then provide personal information to a polite stranger on the telephone. And at first, that seems awkward, but the website feels unfamiliar and impersonal, whereas the voice feels human and reassuring. And for most of people over 50's lives, trusting the human voice and the human being would not have been an unreasonable reaction. Unfortunately, scammers understand that too. They know how to sound patient. They know how to sound concerned and official. And they don't actually have to work for your bank. They only have to sound as though they do. And with AI, pictures, videos, and even voices are not necessarily proof of reality any longer. I mean, imagine spending most of your life believing what you saw and heard were reliable evidence, only to be told don't believe everything you see and hear because that computer over there might be making up the whole thing. I mean, that is a huge and major adjustment. But to be fair, younger people have their own blind spots too. I mean, they may distrust a telephone caller, but they'll trust some personality on social media that they've never met. And they may ignore advice from an experienced professional, but follow investment tips from somebody sitting in their mom's basement with a big microphone and a webcam. I mean, every generation is skeptical of certain things and too trusting of others. Boomers and seniors are not unique. Their trust is simply aimed at different signals, okay? And the answer is not to distrust everyone, it's to add one word to that old habit of trust. And that word is verify. So when that unusual call comes or email comes in, hang up and call the bank back yourself. Contact the family member directly. Visit the official website of your bank instead of using the link in the email. I mean, trust can be a great quality. It just needs that second step. So, are people over 50 really naive? Well, unfortunately, sometimes yes. But so is everybody else. And people over 50 may be more trusting of authority and familiar forms of communication. And younger generations may be more trusting of social media, online personalities, or whoever's telling them to buy this cryptocurrency, this week. But different, for all it's worth, just different generations fall for different things. Older people are not uniquely foolish. They're learning to navigate a world that changed dramatically and didn't exist for most of their life. And most of them have adapted remarkably well. Maybe not always gracefully, maybe with a lot of swearing sometimes, and maybe after announcing proudly that the internet disappeared and damn it, you better find it. But they adapted, and that deserves more credit than it usually receives. So remember, people over 50 were given a map based on stable institutions, reliable authority, and trusted gatekeepers. And then somebody took that map and ripped it up and changed all the roads. And the solution is not to mock the person trying to get down that road, it's to update the map. So, in the next video, we're going to look at how scammers exploit that same trust and what we can do to stop them. But for now, tell me in the comments down below, what rule about life, work, or technology did your generation grow up that no longer seems to apply? Because every generation eventually discovers that the world it prepared for is not the world they received. Thanks for stopping by. I'm still Rico, the old guy in a chair, and as always, please like, subscribe, and share this video and channel. It's easy, and most importantly, it's free.